Hey guys, and welcome back. Today we're talking about the SONY ZV1 or ZV1, whichever way you like to say it. We're going to get into a good review of this. We're going to see how good this is in normal lighting. We're going to see how good it is during low light. We're not only just going to focus on video, but we're also going to look at its photo capabilities because it is a camera that does photo and video. Most of the people that I know have been focusing on the video aspect of it, and honestly that's why I bought it. But how good is the photos from this? Let's get into it, see how good this camera really is, and does it stand up to the reputation that it's been getting. Well, here it is, the SONY ZV1. Now, I'm not going to get into all the little buttons and I'm sure not getting into Sony's menu and showing you how to set all this stuff up and all the different controls. If you're interested in learning some of those extra features and that, and you want more of a detailed explanation of the menus and how you do this and that, let me know down below in the comments, and I'll see about putting a video together for you. Now, I'm going to be testing the quality of the video and the photo. That's what this is about. It's not a tutorial on how to do this. It's how good is the quality? How good is this? It's getting a great reputation for video. I wanted to see how good it really is. Now, all the video that I shot is in 4K 30 frames per second, unless I say otherwise, just so you're aware of that. Now, I will put the specs up here to give you a little bit of the specs and stats on the camera. It is pretty good. One thing though, I really wish it was a bit more weather sealed, but it's not. But anyways, the first thing we're going to look at is the stabilization. How stable is the footage coming off of this? Now, it does have three different modes. It has off, then it has standard, and then it has active image stabilization for video. We tested all three. Now, it was freezing out the day we did this, which was today. It was cold, and we were down by the bay, and there was a pretty good wind whipping up. But anyways, we've got the three different modes. So this is the first one with no activation on the footage whatsoever. And you can see how shaky this is. I was trying to be a bit careful, but not overly careful. Anyways, here's the footage, no image stabilization. This is a test of the image stabilization. There is no stabilization on. I'm going to try and walk carefully and see how this footage is. So again, no image stabilization on. Bit of a run. How is it? Well, that was pretty rock and roll and shaky, but that's kind of expected. There was no image stabilization going on whatsoever, and that's straight out of the camera. Now, let's put it into the standard mode and see what that does. Is it any better? I sure hope so. Testing the image stabilization. This is in the standard mode. Here I am walking. Hopefully it's not too bad. And here's a bit of me running in the standard mode. Well, there was a slight improvement, but honestly, I didn't like it at all. I thought the footage was as bad as if it wasn't on. I mean, yes, it's a touch better, but that's not very stable in my opinion. You'd really have to do some ninja walking to get some good footage with that on. And I am used to using gimbals with the Osmo Pocket and the Zoom Smooth 4. That I'm used to that gimbal smooth footage. So I'm kind of biasing a bit there, but in my opinion, both of those I don't like. Let's hope the last one, the active, is better. Now be aware when you're putting the image stabilization on that you are cropping in a bit on that. So be aware of that when you're putting that on. But let's check out the third one and let's pray it's better than the first two. There we go. Testing image stabilization. This is the highest level, the active mode. And here I am just walking. How is the footage on that? Hopefully it's nice and smooth. Let's give a bit of a run. All right, finally, now we're getting some stable footage. And as I say, I was pretty much walking normal. I was trying to make care. I wasn't like bouncing around on purpose or anything like that to try and bias it. That was basically just me walking, trying to be careful. But you can see the difference between the three footages. That third mode is definitely usable for footage. And if you're taking your time and you're ninja walking and you're being careful, you can create some really smooth footage out of this. So I was quite pleased with that. So that is your three image stabilization modes for this camera. Now, the next thing we want to look at is slow motion, which is kind of a cool feature within the camera. You have, again, three options. You have 240, 480, or 960. That is your slow motion settings. Now, I did all three so you can compare them. Honestly, the 240 is the only one that's usable. And I will tell you, after we've gone through these footages, another way where you can get slow motion footage that's even better, and you're not limited to these short little clips, because within the camera, it's just short little bursts that you get. So first off, let's have a look at my great acrobatic skills at 240 frames per second. That was pretty cool. All right, now let's go to 480. Well, that was pretty slow, and it's starting to break up in image quality. Let's have a look at 960. Now that is some slow mode for you, but honestly, the image quality is terrible. It can do it, fun feature, but it's not really usable footage in my opinion. Now, the fourth way I was going to tell you about, which isn't in those settings, is if you set, because all of this is 1080 anyways, so why not just change to 1080 and shoot 120 frames per second, which is good video quality, and then slow it down in post. You can get smooth footage and get better image quality, but you have to do that work in post versus doing it in the camera. So that being said, that's how it is. All right, let's get on to the next one, which is audio, and let's do audio test with and without the dead cat on. And it was kind of breezy, windy there, so let's check out a bit of footage of me walking in the wind. All right, we are now testing the microphone on the Sony ZV-7. I do have a little dead cat, windscreen, whatever you want to call it, in my hand. Hopefully you're hearing wind blow across the microphone, because there is a fair amount of wind blowing. So this is just testing the camera to see if there's wind noise coming across on that mic. How is it? It's not overly strong wind today, but there's enough it should cause problems. All right, let's put the wind muff on now and see what difference that makes. So just give me a second while I clip that in. There, we now have our dead cat windscreen in place, and we are testing the audio again. Hopefully you don't hear any wind noise whatsoever, and that the audio sounds good. I have the camera at about arm's length. Hopefully the volume is pretty good. I have not changed any of the volume settings or anything in camera. It is the default settings for the audio. Hopefully this is sounding good. All right, so that's with the dead cat on. Let me take it off again. There's the dead cat off. Hopefully you're getting wind noise coming across the microphones. I'll give a bit of a spin. So hopefully I do get that, just so you can hear wind noise. Not often I want to hear wind noise, but there you go. So that's an audio test completed for the Sony ZV-1. Wow, what a difference this windscreen / dead cat made to the audio. The wind had picked up a bit at that point, and you could definitely hear it blowing across the mic, and it was like unusable there, especially at the beginning of it. I did move the camera back a bit closer to my mouth, but Yeah, that wind was blowing across the mic really badly. That dead cat made a huge difference. Now I do notice though, I can still hear a little bit of the wind with this on, but honestly, I was impressed how well that worked, and the audio came out a lot better than I thought it would. Now, that was with the camera pointed at me, vlog style. But what happens when I turn the camera around and it's pointed away from me? What happens to the audio then? Because it is directional that way. So I'm pretty sure my audio is going to drop when I'm behind the camera. And also, I discovered something very cool with this that I didn't even know about until I was out freezing my butt off, making the video for you guys. But I discovered a cool little feature with this. And in doing so, we then did the audio behind. So check out this little clip. To my little surprise, yeah, you guys probably already know about it and probably knew about it. Should have told me. But anyways, I figured it out and like it. Now, check out the audio though with me behind the camera. Now, while I was vlogging, I discovered one thing that was very cool with the grip. You can rotate the handle right around so the camera's pointed the other way. There's a button on the bottom. I didn't realize it was there. Take it, spin it, take my screen, flip it, boom, look at that. Now I can carry on doing my vlog. Now I'm behind the camera, so I'm not sure how the audio is because I believe the microphones are pointed the other way. I am now bringing the microphone closer to my mouth, so it's about maybe 12 inches away. How's the footage? Is it nice and steady? Well, you can see behind the camera, that audio level goes blop, and I had that camera probably about that far away from my mouth. I wasn't very far away, maybe 6-7 inches at best, but the audio level just dumped right off. So be aware of that, that you might want to go with an optional microphone because you have the hot shoe on top. Sony does make one, so you don't need to use a wire, and you can use any of the other microphones because you have the input on the side, and they have one that you can rotate the mic around, or you can just simply turn your mic around if you're going that way and you're going to be behind the camera. But be aware of that. When you're on the back side, the audio goes plop, it dumps right down. When you're in front, I was very pleased with the audio and the audio quality. Now, this camera does have another feature we need to look at, and that is the zoom capability. Now, it's got a 24x70, not the greatest zoom in the world, but at least it has a zoom, and yes, we all wish it was a little wider. But that being said, I think it worked quite well. I have it set on fast, although it's still not the fastest in the world. It's on the fast setting, just so you're aware of that. Now, the one issue you need also to be aware of is if you're using the internal mic, that the microphone picks up the noise of the motors when it's zooming in and out. So be aware of that. You might want to do a voiceover, or you might want to use a different style microphone that won't pick up the motor. But be aware of that. Have a look at this clip and have a listen, and you'll hear the motor. But I think the zoom works quite well. All right, so now we've looked at this during the daytime. What's it like in low light and when it gets dark? Let's have a look at some footage that we did at night. We've come down here to check out some of the holiday lights that they've got set up for the city. But as I say, this is really pushing up the exposure to make everything shiny and bright. So I'm in program mode. I'm going to decrease my exposure a bit to make it a little more realistic and to bring that ISO down, because I'm at 2000 ISO right now. There, I've dropped the ISO to -7 because the camera was really trying to compensate up, and you can see a bit of the holiday lights in behind. But yeah, we're going to have a look at some festive holiday lights and do some low light and nighttime dark photography with the Sony ZV-1. So as I say, I brought the ISO down from 2000 to about 1000. But yeah, let's have a look at some holiday lights. trying to do some vlogging again, and it is quite dark out. My ISO is now bumped up to 3200. I'll do just a bit of a spin behind me, and you can see that there's a bit of holiday lights around. But yeah, it is quite dark out, and now I am kind of like more backlit. I see the camera compensating, which is cool. It is definitely keeping my face brighter, but that kind of gives you an idea, and it is quite dark out. So I'll be very curious to see what the noise level of this footage is. Is it usable? Is it full of noise and is no good? But on this little screen, it looks good. And I notice I got a bad habit of looking at the screen and not the lens, but there you go. Well, the nighttime footage was surprisingly good from a 1-inch sensor. It actually did better than I thought it would. Now, if you do notice though, in that last little bit of a clip, it was really, really dark out. I know it didn't show it there. I kind of had that nice orange glow happening on my skin tone. That's because of all the little street lights along the path. But it was losing focus at the very end of that clip. If you paid attention to that, you see how the focus was, the whole thing was getting fuzzy. It wasn't that it was locking on another area. The whole thing was starting to lose focus. So in the lower light, it did start having a bit of a focus problem. And I did have another clip that I didn't put in there where it was doing the same kind of thing. So I wanted to bring your attention to it. Now, I know with all the video clips that they're not the most epic looking color graphic, cinematography. It wasn't about that. It was about taking what the camera produced and showing it to you in its true form. I shot basically everything in the program mode with auto white balance, auto ISO, and it was only at nighttime there, the camera really wants to adjust to like daylight. When I use it in this setup here, it makes the background a very light blue. It really tries to turn it almost like bright daytime, no matter what time of the day it is. So I manually adjust the exposure down so it was a more accurate representation, and the image quality actually improved when I did that, and the whole thing looked better. But I didn't color grade. I didn't adjust brightness and anything else in post. I didn't do anything in post, but just put it in there because I needed you guys to see the raw footage. I don't want to produce an epic little cinematic thing and you look at it and go, wow, that camera is absolutely amazing. You go out and get the camera and then you go, I can't get mine to look like that, because it was all done in software after. So I wanted to show you what it was like coming from the camera. And as I say, I know it's not the most epic footage, but it shows you what it's like. I did like the video, but let's look at photos now, which a lot of people haven't been looking at. It is an option on the camera because it is a camera. We've got video, we got photo. So let's have a look at the photo. Now, here's just a portrait of me standing down by the water. I think it came out really well. But have a look at 100% crop. Now, I was really surprised at the quality coming out of this because, like I say, no one's really talking about this as a camera, but that is a very acceptable, quite usable image from it. You know, it does have the background defocus and it works quite well. It's not like on the iPhone where it has a cutting out issue. I haven't experienced any cutting out issue with using the background defocus. So I was really pleased with that. I mean, when you look at this other daytime one, it's good. The picture quality is quite good. The image holds up quite well, even at the 100% crops. But how does it look at nighttime? All right, look at this one. That is pretty good. But when you do 100% crop, now you can see that the image is breaking down dramatically. That's because the ISO was pushed way up. And any camera that you push the ISO way up, you're gonna get artifacting. Even on my Nikon D800, if you push the ISO high enough, it's gonna look the same as that. So photography is all about the light. And at nighttime, you got a serious lack of it. Now, it's not the most high-end camera in the world, so I don't expect the most high-end results. But it actually performed better at nighttime than I thought it would with the photos. So as you can see in the 100% crop though, it is definitely breaking apart, artifacting out, and the path there, it's not quite as dark as the sign one, but held up reasonably well. So that is the photos from the Sony ZV-1. Well, with everything that we've seen and done with the camera, I'm really impressed and I like it. But there's a few things I do not like. One, the battery compartment placement. If your camera's on a tripod or on the grip and you need to access the battery compartment, you can't. You have to take it off, which is a shame and kind of a pain because the battery life is not the greatest. You're gonna have to change that battery fairly frequently if you're doing a fair amount of shooting. I was getting about an hour out of that battery. Now I have ordered some third-party batteries. When they come in, I'm gonna do some testing. We're doing unboxing and we'll give you a full review on those batteries and we can see what that's like. But yeah, battery compartment, I don't like where it's placed. Short battery life, it's kind of expected because it's a tiny battery. I really wish the camera had some weather sealing to it, but it doesn't. And another thing, Sony, you guys really need to figure out something with your menu. I don't know if all your cameras are like that, but that menu system of yours is horrendous. But I fought my way through it and got things set up to where I want. But yeah, trying to access and play with the menu, I'm not a big fan of Sony's menu. Now, one other thing that has been brought up by other people in the past, and I tested it, and it'd be true, polarized sunglasses pretty well wipes out the screen off the back. So if you're out on a sunny day and you've got your sunglasses on and you're looking at your little screen there, you're not gonna see a whole lot. So that is an issue with it. But as I say, on the whole, I really love the camera. So my final thoughts on this camera is great for someone just starting out, especially a YouTuber. The camera is definitely designed for a vlogger. I mean, just using the microphone alone kind of tells you that, because when you're in front of the lens like this, the microphone works perfectly. But as you saw in my example, as soon as you're behind the camera, that microphone doesn't work so well. So this whole camera was geared to it. Now, it's been said by tons of other people. I've said it a couple of times myself, that lens needs to be wider for true vlogging, because I don't have the longest arms in the world, but I have to really stretch to get out there and get myself in the frame. Now, I have seen some wide-angle lens adapted onto the front, and that may be something that I look at. But remember, I'm not really a vlogger. I'm more a studio shooter and a little bit of B-roll and video footage. I'm not much into the vlogging. I do a bit here and again for the videos, but that's about it. But as I say, this camera for someone just starting out, or you want to throw it in your bag so you can get some epic little bits of B-roll, it's very handy for that. It's small, it's compact. I love the grip and I love the capability of having the camera way over there and I'm over here. I can see what's going on and I can control it all. That is brilliant and I absolutely love it. So there's a ton of features and a ton of things I love about this camera. But I wanted to point out the things that I didn't like and show you all the review of it. But anyways, the Sony ZV-1, I'm really happy with it. I'm going to keep playing with it. I'm going to do some more playing and more testing. I've got more videos coming on the camera, on some tips and tricks and some other features that we can do, and have a lot of fun with it. But for me, this is going to be a great little backup camera. It's going to be that second person filming me when I don't have anybody available, which I don't most times. That's why I got the camera. It's going to fill that little niche. It's going to make my ship go faster and this whole YouTube process easier. So anyways, with that being said, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. If you enjoyed this, please give it a thumbs up. So, until the next time.